The midday sun, a relentless, bruised yolk in a sky bleached pale, baked the concrete shell of what used to be Manhattan. Dust motes danced in the thick, still air, catching the light as they drifted through the gaping maw of a shattered office building. My lungs felt like sandpaper, perpetually coated with the fine grit of a world that had crumbled and then gone to rust. I was John, just John, another ghost haunting the skeletal remains of what once was. And right then, I was trying to pry a rotten wooden plank from a collapsed apartment complex, hoping to find a spare part, anything for that damned Dodge Charger of mine. It wasn't much, but it was all I had left, my only ticket out of this tomb. My crowbar grated against splintered wood. The effort made my muscles knot, and sweat stung my eyes. This infernal heat. It was always this heat these days. The plank finally gave way with a mournful groan, revealing a dark, claustrophobic crawl space. And there, buried beneath a heap of plaster dust and what looked like rat droppings, was a knife. Just a rusty old kitchen knife, maybe 8 inches long. Nothing special. I picked it up. The metal felt cool, surprisingly cool, against my calloused fingers. The blade was pitted, the edge gone, but as the sunlight hit it just right, I saw something strange. On the flat of the blade, near the handle, there was a tiny symbol, a spiral. It wasn't really moving, not in any way a normal thing would move. It was shifting, like a ripple in water, but solid, like it was breathing. A whisper of cold air brushed my wrist, distinct in the oppressive heat. "Must be my eyes playing tricks," I muttered, squinting. I ran a hand over my forehead, wiping the sweat. I tried to laugh, a dry, rasping sound. Just fatigue, right? Seeing things? I shook my head, dusted off the knife, and slipped it into the utility pouch on my belt. No big deal, just another piece of junk in a world full of it. I kept digging, the scrape of my crowbar the only sound in the vast, dead silence around me. After another hour of fruitless searching, I gave up. My stomach growled, a hollow, echoing complaint. I needed something, anything for the car, but all I had was this heat, this dust, and a gnawing emptiness. I pulled out an old, dented can of soda I'd been saving. It was flat and warm, but the syrupy sweetness was a small comfort, a ghost of better times. I found a relatively clean slab of broken concrete to sit on, pulling out a piece of dried jerky. It was tough, leathery. My teeth ached just thinking about tearing into it. My hand went for the rusty knife. It was easier than trying to gnaw through the meat. As I pulled the knife from my pouch, I heard a faint, almost imperceptible sound, a soft, brittle clinking, like a handful of empty shells tumbling together, from somewhere far away, or maybe closer. I looked around, nothing, just the shattered cityscape. And then, there it was, hanging in the air, right in front of me, a shimmer. Like heat haze off asphalt, but colder. And within that shimmer, words, glowing, pale blue text. System online. Upgrade available. Rusted shiv to enhanced blade. Requires 1 unit scrap metal, 0.05 units biomass. My heart gave a little jolt. What the hell? I blinked, rubbed my eyes. The text was still there. Around the letters, the air seemed to waver, to breathe. And I felt it again, that peculiar coldness, like a spider web across my face, though nothing was there. This is crazy," I whispered. My throat felt like it was closing up. I tried to move my hand, to wave it through the words, but it felt like I was reaching into thick air, like it was just in my head, but so damn real. It's just something weird, I told myself, my voice barely audible. I tried to find the source of the light, the shimmer, but it wasn't anywhere specific, just there, in my line of sight. I swallowed, a dry, rough gulp. Nothing special, just ignore it. But I couldn't ignore it. The words, they glowed, a pale invitation. My eyes went to the requirements. Scrap metal? I had plenty of that. Biomass? Some kind of organic matter, I guessed. That was different. But the blade, an enhanced blade. This rusty piece of junk could be useful. Desperation is a hell of a drug, or maybe just a powerful motivator. I started digging through my scavenged pile, found a bent license plate, cracked it in half. Not much, but it was metal.
And biomass? My eyes darted around. The jerky, it was meat. It was biomass. My hands were shaking badly. This was stupid, completely stupid, but the words, they hummed, a low thrum in the back of my skull. It felt like an itch I couldn't quite reach. And that damned symbol on the knife, it seemed to pulse now, faintly. I held the knife out, then placed a jagged piece of the license plate onto the shimmering interface. The glowing text flickered, then solidified. A strange, dark purple liquid, thick and viscous, seemed to seep from the knife. It coiled, slow and deliberate, around the scrap metal. The metal didn't melt. It was absorbed, dissolved, gone. The liquid then flowed back into the knife, crawling over the rusty blade. My breath caught in my throat. The rust seemed to peel away, like old skin. The blade polished itself, gleaming under the harsh sun, impossibly sharp. But that wasn't all. On the hilt, just below where I held it, a network of thin, green veins began to appear. They pulsed, slowly, like faint heartbeats. The hilt felt warm now, unusually so. And the smell, a faint metallic tang, like blood mixed with something sweet and sickly. I felt a cold dread crawl up my spine, a shiver that had nothing to do with the heat, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. "Damn it," I mumbled, my voice rough. I wiped my face again, though there was nothing there. No way, I'm imagining all of this. I tried to deny it, tried to push the insane reality away, but my fingers, they were clenching around the hilt, those pulsing veins pressing into my palm. I held the newly upgraded knife. It felt lighter, yet somehow more substantial. The blade glinted, a polished, cruel edge. I swung it through the air. A whisper of wind, unnaturally cold, followed its trajectory, cutting through the thick, hot atmosphere. I looked at my reflection in the impossibly sharp, gleaming surface. My face was there, sweaty, pale, wide-eyed. But then I blinked, and my reflection blinked a split second later. A tiny, almost imperceptible delay. I blinked again, harder this time. The reflection lagged, just slightly, but enough to make my stomach lurch. Upgrade complete. The words still hung there, shimmering. So, not imagination then, I thought. The words a cold brick in my throat. It's real. This goddamn system, it's corrupting everything. And maybe, me too. I stared at my slightly delayed, slightly distorted reflection in the blade, my own eyes accusing me. Then I heard it, a whisper, not from my ears, not from the outside world, but from within, from inside my head, yet it wasn't my own thought.
It was rough, like rusted metal scraping against bone, but there was a strange, seductive undertone to it. John, John. It came from the knife, and from my own mind, like a thought that wasn't mine, but felt inextricably linked to me. I gripped the upgraded knife, the pulsing veins beneath my palm, a strange, living sensation. I still had the jerky. This time, cutting through it was effortless. The blade slid, butter smooth, through the tough meat. It was powerful. Unsettling, yes, but powerful. Something twisted inside me, a flicker of something I couldn't quite name. Fear, absolutely, but also a tiny, almost shameful spark of morbid fascination. The whispers came again, softer this time, a gentle caress in my mind. More power. Your vehicle, its parts, weak. It knew about the charger. It knew about my desperation to get away. It can help me survive, I told myself, the words more of a plea than assurance. My voice was a little shaky. This entire thing, it was a nightmare, a bizarre, impossible nightmare. But the knife felt real. Its sharpness felt real. Its coldness, its unsettling warmth, all real. I looked at the crumpled form of my car, the rusty chassis, the flat tires like deflated lungs. A way out. This was a way out. I made the decision. Maybe it was madness. Maybe it was just the desperate scramble of a man with nothing left to lose. But I was going to try it. I would upgrade some parts of the car. It had to be better than slowly rusting away in this dead city. I grabbed one of the flat tires first. It was a shredded, useless thing, barely holding its shape. I dragged it over to the glowing interface, the knife still clutched in my hand. The text reappeared instantly. Upgrade available. Damaged tire, enhanced tire. Requires 2 units living biomass.
My eyes scanned the debris, the broken glass, the rubble. Nothing, except I heard it. A faint scratch, a skittering sound from beneath a pile of broken bricks. Rats. They were everywhere in this city, the only things that truly thrived amidst the ruins. Tiny thing. Provide. The whisper was back, clearer this time, insistent. My breath hitched. My hands were slick with sweat. I remembered the days, weeks I'd gone without food. The gnawing emptiness that chewed at your insides until you couldn't think straight. The sheer terror of waking up knowing you might not find anything to eat. Survival. This was about survival. A rat. It was just a rat. I hesitated. Every fiber of my being screamed at the thought. But the desire, that raw primal drive to escape, to be strong enough to make it, it was a siren call. Stronger than the unease, stronger than the lingering shreds of my old self. Finally, with a guttural sound that was half groan, half sob, I bent down. A flash of gray fur. I lunged. My hand closed around something small and squirming, its tiny heart beating a frantic rhythm against my palm. The rat squealed, a high-pitched, desperate sound that cut through the silence. I tried not to think, tried not to feel. I placed the struggling creature onto the flat tire, right there on the interface. The blue text shimmered. Nung Cup. Upgrade. My God, it was already starting to translate into my head. The dark purple liquid, thicker this time, erupted from the knife. It flowed like a living thing, slithering onto the tire, coiling around the terrified rat. The rat struggled, its tiny claws scratching uselessly against the rubber.
its squeals growing louder, more frantic, then, abruptly, cut off. A sickening gurgle. The liquid tightened, a constricting coil, and then the rat was gone. Simply gone. Absorbed. I shuddered, a full-body convulsion. My stomach churned. I gripped the hilt of the knife, my knuckles white. The tire began to change. The shredded rubber rippled, convulsed. Dark segments stretched, reformed. The worn-out treads grew thicker, stronger, but they weren't just rubber anymore. They looked like veins, organic, and dotted along the surface, tiny, black, glistening spots emerged. They pulsed, like miniature eyes, blinking slowly in the harsh light. The whole tire seemed to expand, to swell, and then, faintly, I heard it. A soft, rhythmic sound, like breathing. The tire was now a grotesque living mass of rubber and something else, something alien. I felt sick, really sick, but when I reached out, the tire felt solid, firm, and it was inflated, perfectly round, ready. I quickly mounted the living tire onto the charger. Its surface seemed to throb subtly, catching the pale blue light of the faint energy field that now surrounded my upgraded knife. This car? It was my escape. I started the engine, a roar that still felt too loud in the dead city. I pressed the accelerator, and the charger, with its new, veiny, breathing tire, lurched forward. The engine purred, a deeper, stronger sound than before. It felt invigorated, alive. I drove out of the collapsed apartment complex, leaving the dust and the ghosts behind. The charger, now with its newly enhanced tire, felt different, powerful. The headlamps, which I hadn't even touched, flickered to life, casting an eerie, pale blue glow. The entire vehicle seemed to hum with an unnatural energy, like some monstrous animal that was finally waking up. I navigated the ruined roads, the potholes, the overturned vehicles. The upgraded tire handled the rough terrain with an unsettling ease, those tiny black eyes on its surface seeming to track the road ahead. I moved through a deserted district, past skeletal buildings, across a cracked, dusty road that led out of the denser urban decay. And then I saw it. On the crumbling wall of a ruined church, what looked like a faded, ancient graffiti. Just a symbol, a spiral. The exact same spiral I'd seen on the rusty knife. It was weathered, almost gone, but undeniable. Not new, no, it was old. I slammed on the brakes, the charger hissing to a stop, its engine still purring low like a hunting beast. I stared at the symbol. It had been there, all along, waiting, like the system wasn't just a random find, but something that had been patiently planting seeds across the world, waiting for someone like me.